Hey there guys, it's Liz here, your integrative health practitioner, and in today's video I wanted to share with you guys a little bit about my story of how I detoxed post-explant. You know, what I did pre-explant to try and mitigate some symptoms, what I personally did post-explant, and then now what I do with my clients pre and post-explant, and they are different. So I'm gonna start off with sharing my story and what I did, what things I did see a little bit of improvement with and what I didn't. And then I'm gonna go into what I do now because I got my explant in May of 2019. So it's about 2 years coming up and there's a big shift. There's a huge shift in what I did and the knowledge that I acquired and the tools and resources that I now had access to that I wish I would have had then. I think I would have recovered a lot faster and I think I would have gotten to the root causes, the lingering toxins and pathogens that were left over after removing the implants because I don't know about you guys, I don't know how much you have also read my story. I have an entire YouTube playlist where I archive all the videos that I've done along my breast implant illness journey. But I really felt like I knew the implants were just going to be the first step, like removing them. I knew that was the first step. I had prepared in my head just the practitioner in me, knowing that that wasn't going to be just a flip of a switch. All of a sudden, like I feel like I want to go run a marathon or frolic in meadows. And that was the perception that I got from some of the stories that were shared in these breast implant illness Facebook groups and on the forums. But if you dig deeper and you don't just look at some of like the top posts in the group and you dig deep in through all these different testimonials, you see there's a lot of hurting women in there. There's a lot of people that were just like me feeling super frustrated because they remove the implants and they're still sick. And they feel like they're trying all the things and they're still sick. There are some people out there that are like me and they made a bunch of nutritional changes and you know, you're drinking like the clean water and you're taking all the vitamins and you're doing coffee enemas or castor oil packs or sauna. And you're like, why the heck am I not still healing? So we have to remember that we label these symptoms, this constellation of symptoms that many women can get after explant, whether it's a couple of days, I've seen that happen, a couple of months or a couple of years, we label this as breast implant illness, right? And I'm glad that they put a label on it just so that it helps to bring awareness to the fact that this can happen. But ultimately you have to remember that you're getting to the root causes of what the breast implants did to your body. So with breast implant illness, these symptoms are happening because of increased toxic load from the toxic ingredients that are within the devices, and also the immune system suppression that happens from having these foreign objects in the body, okay? People can have this with fillers and other like implants within the body or like, you know, hip and knee replacements. This has happened with other people. It's not just breast implants, but it's becoming more mainstream for people to talk about this, right? And so I just wanna make you guys aware of that, is that when people say, oh, how do I detox from BII? Versus how do I detox? Someone comes to me, they don't have implants in and they still have all these same symptoms, right? It's their toxic load has increased. They've gone through some trauma. They're constantly being exposed to toxins in their environment. It's their lifestyle as well. And yes, there are some genetic components, but genetics load the gun, lifestyle, environment pull the trigger. And so part of your environment is the breast implants, or part of the environment for someone could be living in a moldy house. So ultimately, removing the implants is one thing. The next step is, are your drainage pathways open for you to then be able to remove the toxins and pathogens that are really causing your symptoms? So it's getting to the root cause of the issue. The root cause isn't necessarily just the implants for most people. You remove the toxicity, but much of it is still lingering in your body, okay? So I just wanted to make that clear. So before I end up going into what I did before I really knew better and what I now do with my clients pre and post explant, I do wanna make a disclaimer that this is not meant to replace any medical advice or suggestions that you would be getting from your practitioner. If you guys are watching this and you're not working with me one-on-one, please make sure that you run any of this by your current practitioner before starting any type of protocol, your surgeon, etc. And also, I completely withhold any judgment from women who choose to either keep them in or who just still choose to get them. I always tell people, I'm like, if I wouldn't have had symptoms, I don't think just knowing that they were toxic probably would have been enough for me, to be completely transparent. But because I had symptoms and my body was speaking loudly, I wanted to remove something I knew was toxic. That was my choice. There are some women that don't have the money to be able to get them out, so we do the best that we can with them in. And we can still make some great strides for many women. There are some people that are just like, listen, emotionally, I just cannot get them out right now. I will do anything else. And then if I really feel like none of that works and I'm still struggling, then I'll get them out. There are some women, I had a really, you could tell she was like a deeply hurt woman that commented on one of my posts from this week, essentially saying that I was falsely saying that breast implants were toxic, and that it was a huge insult to women that are undergoing, double mastectomies with breast cancer. And I came back with so much love and saying, listen, I'm covering you in prayer. I absolutely don't know what you're going through. I still stand by my words saying the ingredients in breast implants are toxic. That is true, but not all women's bodies reject them. And it's completely up to that woman what they want to do. I can't even imagine having a double mastectomy. And she wasn't eligible for the different types of reconstructive surgery. It wasn't doable for her. So no judgment whatsoever. My goal is literally just to educate you, because there are many women that just don't have this education, so they feel like they can't make a truly informed decision before getting implants in, or they just don't feel like they have enough evidence or enough feedback or whatever they feel they need, the knowledge, the education, to know whether or not it's really worth them getting them removed. So no matter what, I am covering every single one of you guys in prayer that you just feel you make the decision that is best for you. This is what I felt was best for me. I want you to know what is best for you. I want you to take any of this information that you feel is doable. If you want to toss it all out the window, that is okay. But I know there are many women that are hurting who have already gotten explants, and they're like, what the hell else am I supposed to do at this point? You're so stuck, okay? So here we go. I have some notes here if I look over here, because there's just too much important stuff. I do not want to miss it for you guys. So for those of you guys that don't know what my story was, just in general, I had gotten my breast implants in while I was in college. I had them in for 8 years, and then over those 8 years is when almost all of my health issues came about. Now, when I was young, I had gut issues since I was little. I guarantee it was parasites when I look back on it. And I had hormonal issues because I had an eating disorder and really wreaked havoc on my body, but I had recovered from those things. I was functional. I had a lot of energy. I worked out. I was, in a good mood. I was enjoying life. I was motivated. I was driven. And when I got my implants in my I think it was my sophomore year of college, within 3 months of me getting implants, my health really started to decline. I was really fatigued. That was the biggest thing for me. Fatigue, taking at least 1, if not 2 naps a day for 2 to 3 hours at a time, skipping meals, just thinking it was normal, thinking that when I was in college, I'm working, I'm going to school, I just thought I'm just tired. So then I ended up finding out that on top of that, coincidentally, 3 months after I got my implants in, I get then diagnosed with Lyme disease, and then adrenal fatigue, and then mold toxicity and underactive thyroid. So I had a lot of issues that came about after that. And so is it possible to 100% say it was the implants? No. But what I find is ironic is, I have several clients and even just other women that I've interacted with where they're like, these things could have been lingering in my body, but like I had, herpes viruses and EBV and just different things that we all end up having in our body, but they surface once you have implants in. And I truly do believe that having these foreign devices in my body suppressed my immune system to the point where Lyme could take over. My mitochondria completely suffered. My gut started to have more issues. Mold started to accrue in my body. And so there's only so many coincidences that I believe can happen before you start looking at where is the correlation here, okay? So that's where I stand with it. I don't think it's coincidental that you can have hundreds of thousands of women in these breast implant illness groups and find that along their timeline, their issues started after their implants. I'm just saying, you can have compounding variables, but there's only so many coincidences there before we have to start taking a look. And my surgeon had even said that. The surgeon I went to is actually not an explant surgeon that you would see on a lot of these websites where they have the directories of common explant surgeons. but he was my initial surgeon. He listens to me. I really liked him. I talked to him about this. We did a total capsulectomy instead of end block, and I've talked about in other videos why I ended up choosing to do that instead. But he was very supportive, and it was a great seamless process there. But ultimately, he even said, listen, it's not like I do a lot of explants. I'll take them out when women just don't want them anymore, or, you know, they can end up trying to just do like, they remove them and have like a lift instead, whatever they want to do. But he said, I don't think that you can just ignore the fact that there are so many women out there that this is happening to. And is it something that we fully understand that much right now? Maybe not yet, but we have to start acknowledging it. And I'm encouraging my, you know, his colleagues to do that. I thought that that was just so awesome. So what I ended up doing prior to explant was several different things, honestly, just to address the issues I knew I already had. I had gone through different Lyme disease treatments. I took different supplements for adrenal fatigue and, you know, adrenal support. I had done countless different gut protocols, whether it's to address, you know, candida, or I had Klebsiella. You know, I had been on different medications that they had put me on really before I really knew any better, different antibiotics. And I got to the point where I would like cycle through. I felt a little bit better and then I'd crash, and a little bit better, and then I felt like it was just this steady like feeling like crap. And I got to the point where I was about 5 years into seeing my functional MD at the time, just starting to look into breast implant illness as well, and figuring out, okay, I know that that surgery is a route that I want to go down, but I also feel like there's some lingering issues here, and that's when I found out I had mold toxicity. So I ended up deciding in February 2019 to start treating myself for mold toxicity. I had confirmed that with urine results for those haters that have commented on some of my posts before saying, oh, she's full of something, but it's not mold. Like, you can have mold in your body. You need to go look at the functional medicine labs that are out there and educate yourself, because yes, you can. So I use the Great Plains labs. I also like Vibrant Wellness. They have a great mycotoxin test. I started treating myself for mold. I did binders. I did Biohacking. That is absolutely fantastic for some certain gut issues and systemic mold detoxification. But again, it wasn't enough for me. So I did all of these different herbal regimens and protocols. I got to the point where May came around and I removed my implants. And so after I removed my implants, my doctor had said, I don't think that you should really do anything truly comprehensive for detoxification for like the first 6 weeks. So I trusted him. And honestly, I'll talk to you more about the approach that I take with my clients, but we more focus on supporting drainage and taking binders around like initially right afterwards, just to let the body kind of settle down a bit. It really can vary person to person, but in general, we're supporting drainage and we're binding up some toxins there. So I'll talk about that in a minute. But when it came to what I did before I knew about drainage and before I knew about bioactive carbon binders, I had taken activated charcoal bentonite clay binders. Really were not doing much for me. They're a pain in the butt because you had to time them away from foods and other supplements. It just, compliancy reasons, it was not working well for me and doesn't work well for majority of my clients. So I had done that. I did daily nutritional support with a good daily activated multivitamin. I actually, over the last 5 years, I've been taking the Tri-Synergizer that I talk about, on my stories and in my supplement highlight. So I love doing the Nerf 2, the NAD, the Nerf 1. Those are the things that honestly probably helped me the most. That was the greatest improvement that I had seen in my health when I especially started the Nerf 2 Synergizer. So that was the biggest thing for me. But otherwise, everything, I just felt like I was just throwing crap at the wall and being like, okay, is anything gonna make me feel better? Like anything. Like, is any of the money that I'm spending really worth it right now? Because I just feel like I don't know what else to do. So between the Tri-Synergizer that I took and the cutting out gluten, cutting out dairy, and just eating as many whole foods as possible, those are probably the most beneficial things that I did pre and post-explant in the beginning. But as I started to dive deeper into like, how do I detox comprehensively? These different, 12-week gut protocols really aren't doing much for very long, continue to have recurrent yeast infections, continue to have completely like exhaustion after I'm done working out, and sometimes even just when I wake up in the morning, I had such bad night sweats. Like, it was just, nothing was getting better, or I got better for a little bit and then it was gone. So I ended up investing in my portable sauna in October that year. So it was about 5 months after explant. I invested in my sauna, and that was one of the best things that I could do to be able to help assist in my detoxification. So I tried and tied my binders around that, did sauna, and that's essentially what I was doing, guys, for honestly up until about 10 months ago. I was doing just like foundational nutrition support, removing dairy and gluten as much as possible, so I would take away that inflammatory response that would really happen there from those food sources. You know, trying to try synergizer food sources and binders. And even then I still was like, you know, I felt great with a tri-synergizer and food, but anything extra that I would add, it just didn't feel like it made a difference. So about 10 months ago, I was presented with information on Cellcore. And for those of you guys that have followed me for a little while, that is the line that I absolutely love. Do I use every product with every person? No. Is any product for everybody? No. But I'm telling you that the improvements, the vitality, the life that I've gotten back just in the last 10 months of using these products, I need to share it with you guys. They are not the cheapest thing in the world, but it's because they're good and they work. And I did enough of I actually spent a lot of money on like good quality supplements, but the most expensive products are the ones that you take that don't get you results. The ones that you take that don't work. And so I was like, you know what do I have to lose here? They have great science. They have proprietary blends of, you know, using different things like fulvic acids, humic acids. I was like, what are these things? But I had heard so many incredible functional medicine practitioners talk about this line that I decided to try it for myself. And I did it myself for several months before I started leveraging it with my clients. But it has been a game changer for both of us. So if you guys want more information on Cellcore, you can either feel free to leave a comment or shoot me a direct message, or both, because depending on how many I get, sometimes stuff gets buried. But I promise you I'll get there if you guys have not heard me talk about this already. But I'm starting my clients before explant if possible. Some people come to me after explant, but before explant, I want them to start by opening up their drainage pathways. I actually have a highlight on this. If you guys are watching this on Instagram, or if you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook, I do have an entire highlight on drainage specifically, just some good general guidelines of how to open your drainage pathways, your liver, your kidneys, your colon, get your lymph moving, support your mitochondria. Because if you go and try to remove toxins, or your body is just naturally trying to get rid of toxins, and you don't have the pathways open that or where the toxins leave, if they're blocked, it's like being in a car jam and trying to, you're not able to go anywhere. The pathways are blocked. So you can say, hey, I'm just gonna try and naturally detox, post-explant. That's fine, but if your pathways aren't open, it doesn't matter whether you're doing it naturally or you're using additional products, it's not going anywhere. So if you go to that drainage highlight, it's super helpful where I talk about signs of drainage dysfunction, and I have different posts and reels that I have done with detailed captions of different ways that you can open up these pathways. But the most comprehensive way, the most successful way, efficient way, quick way that I've seen this happen with myself and with my clients is to use Cellcore's phase 1 or step 1 protocol that is addressing these pathways accordingly. And then after we get those pathways open for about 4 weeks, we are focusing just on drainage pathways. We will start to go into parasites, going into mold and heavy metals and viruses. Now watch, this video is gonna get blocked because they probably think I'm talking about Rona, but I'm not. And then going into, other gut pathogens, there are many lingering issues that can happen, but you wanna open up drainage pathways first. Phase 1 Cellcore is my favorite thing to do that with, and then go into addressing parasites, mold, heavy metals, other pathogens, etc. The reason that you want to address parasites, guys, this is really huge because I know some of you guys get freaked out by parasites. And I did too. I was like, I'm not thinking about it. Until I stayed sick and I was like, I guess I have to think about it. So when it comes to parasites, they can hold on to all the toxicity, the mold, the heavy metals, they can hold on to viruses, etc., chemicals that your body has not only been introduced to just in life because we live in a toxic world, but what the implants contain is a lot of different chemicals and toxins in there, right? And so you essentially, in my opinion, make a perfect host for a parasite when you have breast implants, because it's just this constant flood of toxicity. And I've seen parasites be present in every single breast implant illness client that I've had. honestly, every single client that I've had, but just because we're talking about breast implant illness, I'm just saying I haven't had a client yet where like they didn't pass some type of parasite or parasite egg when we were doing drainage and parasite protocols, okay? So you got to get your drainage pathways open. You want to address parasites. You can choose to do that with other products that you want. Some people are like, hey, I did a parasite cleanse at this point or that point, or I found this other product that gets rid of parasites, you know, black walnut hull, you know, just different things out there. And they absolutely can work. And I had used some things like that too, like Biocide, and technically can have some anti-parasitic effects. But it wasn't comprehensive enough. It wasn't addressing multiple different types of parasites and the main heavy hitter parasites. It wasn't addressing them at different stages of their life cycle. And many of them can't cross the blood-brain barrier. And so what happens with parasites, and toxins, is so many of them can cross the brain. We can have mold in the brain, we can have heavy metals from breast implants in the brain, we can have parasites in the brain. And so if you don't have products that cross that barrier, you're gonna have an issue. You're gonna have lingering symptoms, and that happened to me for a really long time. And I had such brain fog, I'm like, can something get to my brain, please? Like, we got stuff going on there. So you're not crazy. Just because you've done other protocols, if some of you guys have, and they haven't worked, doesn't mean parasite cleanses won't work. Doesn't mean drainage protocols don't work. Doesn't mean that detoxing from mold and heavy metals won't work. But the order in which you do these things matters. You gotta get your drainage pathways open, preferentially with phase 1 of Cellcore or one of the other suggestions in my drainage highlight. Go into parasites. I like step 2 or phase 2 of Cellcore, and phases 2 and 3 both address different types of parasites. So I do recommend going through that. If you want to do other like anti-parasitic herbs, you absolutely can. I just think that using products that maybe kind of like half-ass might work is just not the best use of our money. So I just have my clients delegate their dollars towards the most effective products, which as of right now, that's Cellcore. Many of them are using the Tri-Synergizer along the way for support, and a daily activated multivitamin, maybe an omega. But as far as comprehensively addressing drainage and detoxification, they're using the Cellcore line and then using the Tri-Synergizer there. And then we end up going into like very systemic detox, work a little bit more on environmental toxins, and then start to really comprehensively address more nutrient deficiencies. Because until you end up getting the parasites out of the way and taking some toxins that can actually affect the amount of nutrients that you can absorb and whatnot, it doesn't always make the most sense to like hyper supplement any nutrients that you feel would be depleted. So it absolutely can depend on the person, guys, but that is my general layout with my clients. If I have them, if they access me before explant, we are opening up their drainage pathways. Depending on how long they have until explant, we'll start addressing parasites. We'll start addressing toxins. I think it's worth it. I have that conversation person by person with each client, and we just figure out what they feel comfortable with. Maybe we just support drainage up until they end up going and getting their explant. Or if they decide they're not getting an explant at all, then we just go through the protocol and we do as much as we can if they feel like they need to cover all of their bases before they finally pull the trigger on that. So the primary things that I use is the Cellcore protocol, going phases 1 through 4 and or 5 if you're doing the foundational protocol or the comprehensive protocol. And then I will forever use the Tri-Synergizer myself. I love that for good foundational support for my clients, a good daily activated multivitamin just to be able to cover your bases there. And then if we need little a la carte things, maybe like a vitamin D for someone with super, super low vitamin D, things like that, magnesium, we may address that. But ultimately, when we're looking at detoxification and drainage, you gotta get those drainage pathways open. You gotta address parasites, because if you end up going into mold and heavy metals and other things before ever doing parasites, they hold on to those toxins. So you're gonna have to come back around to that later. If you are addressing Lyme disease without addressing parasites, you're probably gonna have to come back and hit Lyme again, because the parasites are just going to continue to release it. They release heavy metals, they release mold, they release viruses and toxins as they feel that they want to. So if you don't hit on those suckers, it's like they're just keeping them in storage and they really suppress your immune system. You're gonna have a difficult time healing. So guys, please feel free to use all of the free information. So to just bring it full circle, I would recommend eliminating gluten, eliminating dairy, so you eliminate some of those inflammatory resources from your diet. I would do some foundational support with a good daily activated multivitamin. I love the Tri-Synergizer just to help to reduce the oxidative stress, support the mitochondria, support the sirtuins in the body. I would make sure that I am addressing drainage pathways, whether it's through the cell core protocol or one of the recommendations in my drainage highlight posts. And then going into addressing parasites, mold, heavy metals, viruses, etc. Okay. You can also use different things like sauna. I love sauna. Castor oil packs you can put over the liver to help with liver detoxification. You can do coffee enemas. I like trying to do those at least once a week. I have an entire highlight on those. So guys, if you have any additional questions, please feel free to put them in the comments. But those are the primary foundational things that I tend to begin implementing with my clients. And I wish you love, happiness, prayers, healing, everything as you go along this journey. Please do not give up. You are not alone. Your healing is coming. You just have to start doing the right things in the right order, and it starts with drainage.